Abuja loved a spectacle, and Chinedu and Ifeoma Okafor were a weekly parade without trying. On Sunday mornings, their convoy glided through Maitama like a quiet river. Black SUVs, polite drivers, a soft shimmer of wealth that didn't need an introduction. Chinedu, crisp in white kaftan, looked like a man who expected doors to open before he reached them. Ifeoma moved with a calmer power, warm, observant, the kind of woman who remembered waiters' names and noticed when a choir girl's shoe had a loose strap. At home, their mansion breathed like a sleeping animal, air-conditioned, scented with vanilla and thyme. In the marble kitchen, Ifeoma stirred a pot of ogbono soup and smiled at the sizzle. She trained at a culinary school in Cape Town, but her happiest meals were the ones she cooked barefoot with music playing low. "Sweetheart," she called, "taste this. Be honest." Chinedu walked in, scrolling his phone, thumb moving like a metronome. "I'm late," he said, glancing up. "Looks great. You didn't taste it." He leaned down, kissed her forehead, tasted with a spoon. "Perfect," he said. It sounded correct, but not true. Ifeoma watched him pocket the phone with unusual care. Months ago, he would have dropped it on the counter and told her about the investor he outsmarted, the meeting that ended in a handshake. Lately, the phone was a second heartbeat. "You're distracted," she said lightly. "New project." "Always," he replied, and smiled at a notification. They ate together, but in 2 different rooms. She tasted the soup. It was, in fact, perfect. He chewed quickly, replying to someone. When he left, she stood at the sink, staring at the watermark his glass left on the marble. She wiped it away with the corner of her apron, then stopped halfway. Since when did she need to erase proof that he had been near? That evening, they dressed for a magazine shoot, Power Couple of the Year. The photographer placed them in the garden under bougainvillea. "Hold her waist," he said. "Closer." The camera clicked. Ifeoma held her smile. Chinedu's phone vibrated again. He didn't check it, but the half-second look in his eyes, apology or anticipation, landed like a pebble in Ifeoma's chest. "Everything okay?" she asked between frames. "Perfect," he said again. As they wrapped, a driver jogged up with a sealed envelope. Chinedu opened it, scanned the letter, and exhaled. "New assistant starts tomorrow," he said. "Sharp girl. We need efficiency." "What's her name?" Ifeoma asked. "Ngozi," he said, mouth curving around the syllables like he'd practiced them. The night ended with a ping. A new message lit up his phone. "Good evening, sir. It'll be an honor to serve you. See you at 8. Ngozi." She arrived at 7:50 a.m., punctual without being eager. A slim woman in a charcoal sheath dress, minimal jewelry, clear skin that glowed with confidence. In the glassy lobby of Okafor Holdings, she smiled at the receptionist as if they were peers. "Good morning. I'm Ngozi, the new executive assistant." When she walked into Chinedu's office, she didn't sit until he gestured. She placed a leather-bound notebook on the table. "I took the liberty of researching the Enugu power grid pitch," she said. "Your last deck over-explained. You're too big to justify yourself. You should command." Chinedu's eyebrows rose. "You read the deck?" "I guessed your password pattern," she said, unbothered. "Sir, big men don't explain. They declare." It was audacious. He liked it. Within 2 days, she redrew his calendar, cut his meetings in half, and tripled his output. She learned his coffee order by day 3. By day 4, she knew which calls bored him and which ones woke him up. She laughed at his dry jokes. She never gossiped, at least not where anyone could hear. In the quiet seconds between tasks, she let compliments fall like feathers. "You have a gift for reading rooms," she said, eyes steady. "You noticed," he replied, surprised. "Everyone notices," she murmured. "They're just too intimidated to say it." She made him feel seen, a dangerous talent around a powerful man. On Thursday, she stood by the window as Abuja glowed under 6 p.m. sun. "Your wife runs a foundation, right?" she asked. "Yes." "That's beautiful. But sometimes people in charity don't understand momentum. Business requires, how do I put it, cold blood." He turned the idea over like a coin. Ifeoma understands more than you think. I'm sure, Ngozi said, a deft smile returning. Also, a Nugu pitch is Monday. I've booked a suite at Transcorp for a strategy session tonight. Only if you want. I can prep you better without the noise. He knew what noise meant. He also knew why the invitation came dressed in professionalism. Schedule it, he said, the words sounding like someone else's. That evening, he told Ifeoma, late night at the office. She glanced at the wall clock, then at him. On a Thursday? Deadlines, he said, reaching for his keys. Eat before you go, she offered. I made jollof. Next time, he replied, already halfway out. At Transcorp, Ngozi had printed the deck, marked ruthless notes in red. She walked him through a tighter story. She sat close enough to point at the page without truly touching. At the end, she closed the folder. You're ready, she said softly. Nigeria is not ready for you. He laughed, unexpectedly shy. That line is good. Put it on the first slide. If I do, she said, promise me one thing. Stop apologizing for being a king. At midnight, as the city dimmed, her phone lit with a message sent and deleted, then sent again. Let me handle more. I can protect you from distractions. The first thing Ifeoma noticed was his new cologne, sharper, foreign, chosen by someone who liked a clean burn. The second was the password on his phone. He had never needed one before. Now Face ID and a 6-digit code stood like guards. She told herself not to be paranoid. Marriage was not a crime scene. Still, she watched. She saw how quickly he silenced incoming calls. She saw a new tie in his drawer, bought from a boutique she didn't shop at. She noticed a tiny smear of peach gloss on a white shirt collar, too faint to accuse with, too bright to ignore. At lunch with her best friend, Amaka, she tried to laugh it off. Maybe I'm reading meanings into shadows, Ifeoma said. Amaka stirred her zobo, eyes kind. Shadows come from something standing in the light. That evening, she set the table with care, a small feast of sia-spiced chicken and plantain. We haven't sat together in a week, she said when he walked in. Just an hour. No phones. I have a call at 9, he said, lowering himself into the chair without looking at the food. Make it quick. Quick. She kept her voice soft. Since when did we schedule each other like meetings? His jaw tightened. Don't start. I'm not starting anything. I'm asking if we're okay. We're fine, he said. I just have work. Is work more important than the person who prays for you? She asked, a tremor at the edge of her tone. Do you remember when we couldn't afford a generator and we used to fan each other at night? When did we forget we're on the same side? He pushed back his chair. You want drama? You always want to talk about feelings when I'm on the verge of something big. Let me breathe. She sank into silence, the kind that echoes. When he left for the call, she cleared the plates and packed the food into containers. She wrote his name on one with a marker, habit, love, or both, and placed it in the fridge. Near midnight, she heard a car engine outside. She went to the balcony and parted the curtains. Down the street, a black sedan idled under the jacaranda, the driver door open. A woman in a charcoal dress leaned in to speak to the driver, then stepped back, laughing at something he said. The streetlight caught her face for a second, poised, deliberate. Ifeoma let the curtain fall. She stood very still, the way you do when you're trying not to scare a small truth into running away. Her phone buzzed, Amaka again. You home? Yes. You're quiet. I'm fine, she typed, and erased the last word. The next morning, she reached for Chinita's white shirt to press it. A hotel receipt fluttered from the pocket. Transcorp Hilton, suite, beverages. She held the paper with steady fingers, placed it back exactly where she found it, and ironed the shirt perfectly, line by clean line. That night, when he got in, she tried once more. Tell me the truth, and I'll know what to do with it. He looked at her for a long second. Stop watching detective shows, he said. It's making you paranoid. In bed, staring at the ceiling fan, Ifeoma whispered a prayer that sounded more like a promise. God, if there's a storm coming, Teach me how to stand in it. The dinner at Fraser Suites was meant to seal a deal. The table glittered with cutlery like polished teeth. Investors from Lagos and London, a commissioner from Enugu, a celebrity architect, and Ngozi, seated at Chinita's right, not behind him. When Ifeoma arrived, heads turned. She wore an emerald dress that held its own under the chandeliers. She greeted the table with warmth. Good evening. Ah, Mrs. Okafor, the commissioner smiled. Your foundation's clinic in Garki saved my niece's life.
Thank you, she said.
We just show up. The doctors do the miracle. As waiters poured wine, a journalist, invited for soft press, asked, Mr. Okafor, what's your secret? You've grown faster than your rivals. Chinita chuckled, leaning back. Simple. I hire the sharpest minds. Like my assistant, Ngozi. He gestured grandly. This woman restructured my operations in a week. Beauty and brains. Abuja is not ready. The table laughed. Ifeoma smiled politely at Ngozi, who returned a small, disarming nod. And your wife? The journalist asked, almost an afterthought. Her influence. Chinita lifted his glass. My wife is supportive. He paused, then added with a carelessness that pierced, but we don't all have to be leaders. Some people are better in the background. I need vision at the front. The laugh that followed was soft but heavy. Ifeoma felt heat rise in her face, then cooled just as quickly. A woman across the table dropped her gaze. Ngozi rested a hand, gentle, on the linen near Chinita's wrist, as if calming a talented but excitable child. When the pepper soup came, someone praised the flavor. My chef tried to recreate one of your Instagram recipes, the architect told Ifeoma. We failed. My recipes are stubborn, Ifeoma said lightly. Her recipes are cute, Chinita cut in. But business is war. Cute doesn't win contracts. The words landed with a hush. For 2 seconds, the room was naked. Then murmurs rose. A waiter clinked a glass. The music swelled a little, as if the hotel itself was trying to cover what had just happened. In the restroom, 2 PR girls adjusted lip liner and whispered. Did you hear what he said? Wild. She took it well, though. Strength or humiliation? Both, the other replied. Ifeoma washed her hands slowly, looked up at herself in the mirror, and practiced a smile that didn't tremble. Back at the table, she found Chinita bent toward Ngozi, murmuring. Ngozi tilted her head, listening like a violin. When the dinner ended, cameras flashed. Someone posted a clip. #OkaforDinner. Assistant praised over wife. And Abuja's hungry internet sharpened its teeth. In the car, Ifeoma sat beside her husband in silence. He checked his phone, thumbs busy. Don't be moody, he said finally. It was a joke. Of course, she replied, voice even. A perfect one. He didn't hear the steel inside the silk. As they pulled into the driveway, a suitcase waited by the front door, his, not hers, and the night inhaled sharply. But the suitcase was a feint. He had packed it to make a point, then decided the point needed spectacle. He dragged it into the living room and let it thud. I can't keep doing this, he announced. Doing what? Ifeoma asked, removing her earrings, placing them gently in a dish. Carrying dead weight. She looked up. Is that what I am now? You're comfortable, he said, pacing. You don't challenge me. Ngozi gets it. She sees where we can go. You. He searched for words that would hurt. You're stuck in soup and sympathy. The insult didn't roar this time. It arrived cold, like a scalpel. Careful, she said quietly. Words once said cannot be unsaid. He seized the suitcase and unzipped it. I want you out. Tonight. She blinked. The room swayed, and then stilled. From my home. From my house, he corrected. Our house, she said, and the pronouns sounded like history. He pointed at the door. Don't test me. Test. She laughed once, a small, shocked sound. I followed you when you had nothing but a stubborn dream and one broken generator. I sold my gold to help pay your first peril. This is not a test. This is amnesia. He grabbed a second bag, began flinging her clothes into it without looking, fabrics twisting, shoes thudding. The violence was mostly in the sound.
"Chinita, stop," she said.
"You will regret this." He kept packing. "Ngozi is my future," he spat finally, the name hanging in the air like a dare. "You're holding me back." Silence followed, full, thick, the kind before rain. Ifeoma set her chin. Understood. She picked up her phone, dialed the driver. "Please bring the car." "Where to, madam?" he asked. She looked at the wall clock. 10:42 p.m. The city outside glowed like a secret.
"Just come," she said.
By the time the driver arrived, she had zipped 2 bags herself. Clothes, laptop, a small jewelry pouch, a framed photo of their first shop lease signed in blue ink. She paused at the kitchen fridge, took the container labeled with his name, and left it on the counter. He would find it in the morning. Or not. At the door, she turned. He stood with his arms crossed, bravado sitting uneasily on his handsome face. "May you never need what you threw away tonight," she said. "But if you do, I hope you find mercy." "Save your sermon," he replied. She walked into the night. The air smelled of dust and jacaranda. As the driver loaded her bags, she glanced across the high hedges and saw it, a discreet T.O. let sign on the cream-colored mansion next door. The porch light was on like an invitation. "Madam?" the driver asked softly. "Hotel?" Ifeoma looked at the sign again. Faint, stubborn, unexpected. A thought cracked open. Not escape. Not exile. Presence.
"Hold on," she said.
She dialed the number on the sign. A sleepy agent answered. "Hello." "Good evening," she said, voice steady. "I'm calling about the house next door to the Okafor residence in Maitama. Is it still available?" "Yes," the voice said, waking fully. "Available." "I'll take it," she said. "We'll start with a short lease. I want the keys by morning." The driver stared at her in the rearview mirror, all widening his eyes. Ifeoma exhaled, slow and controlled. Tears did not fall, not tonight. She wasn't running. She was staying exactly where the story tried to push her out. She ended the call and looked back at the mansion she had just left. "Sleep well, Chinidu," she whispered. "Tomorrow, when you wake, look out the window." At 7:15 a.m., the agent arrived with a ring of keys and sleep in his eyes. "Madam, you're serious," he murmured, gazing at the hedged mansion like it might wake up and argue. "I'm decisive," Ifeoma replied. "Walk me through." Marble floors, wide windows, a kitchen that smelled like lemon and promise. In the backyard, a jacaranda twin to the one that shaded the Okafor house bent toward the fence like a gossiping auntie. "I'll need a deep clean today," she said. "And a generator service. Also, please organize curtains before dusk." The agent scribbled. "Yes, madam." Payment. She transferred a 6-month lease on the spot. The man blinked. "You're not pricing?" "I'm not begging." By 9 a.m., a cleaning crew swarmed the house. By 10:30, Amaka stormed in carrying akara and a box of glass tumblers. "You are a mad woman," she declared, hugging her friend so tight the akara bag crinkled. "A glorious one." "Help me order a mattress, basic furniture, and Wi-Fi," Ifeoma said. "And please call Mama Zainab, the caterer down the road. I'll need lunch for the workers." At noon, the compound gate creaked next door. Chinita stepped out in a navy suit, phone to his ear, already irritated at the day. He glanced left and froze. Movers were wheeling a brand new fridge through the house beside his. A familiar silhouette stood on the porch, signing a receipt with calm, careful strokes. His heart stuttered. "Hold on," he told whoever was on the phone. "Hold on." He lowered the device. "Ifeoma." She looked up. "Good morning, neighbor." His pride assembled itself like armor. "What is this joke?" "No joke," she said simply. "I'm relocating. Close to my garden." Ngozi's sedan purred to the curb. She stepped out, paused, appraising the scene. Her smile was lazy and tight. "Sir, we're late for the Enugu call." Chinita swallowed. "Let's go," he said, forcing nonchalance. "Some people don't know how to accept the end." True, Ifeoma replied, just loud enough. And some people don't know when they've lost their beginning. Movers laughed under their breath. The driver from last night hid a grin. By evening, new curtains breathed lightly in Ifeoma's windows. She brewed tea, then stepped to the fence and looked at the house she had left. In its painted silence, she could hear everything. His footfall, his impatience, his old certainty rearranging itself into something smaller. When electricity flickered, the new generator coughed and caught. Warm light spilled across her porch like a promise kept to herself. Before bed, she sent one text, just one, to the driver's WhatsApp. Please be at the new address at 6 a.m. We're starting a new routine. Next door, a light snapped on in Chinidu's study and stayed on, hard and restless, till morning. At dawn, Ifeoma tied a scarf and walked the boundary, taking measure. The lawn needed trimming. The garden beds lay bare, like a stage waiting for actors. She called a plant nursery in Guarinpa, ordered hibiscus, scent leaf, and creeping thyme. By 7:30 a.m., she was washing the front steps with a bucket and a long brush. Two teenage neighbors on bicycles slowed, eyes wide. Auntie, you're the lady from the video, right? One asked. The clip from the gala was everywhere. She smiled. I'm the lady with a dirty stare. Help me rinse. They jumped off, laughing, and did it gladly. A woman across the street, Auntie Beezy of the Resident Association, waved approvingly. Morning, dear. If you need a plumber, call me. I'll need a community, Ifeoma replied. So yes. She established rhythms, a 6 a.m. walk, 7 a.m. calls with her foundation staff, 8:30 a.m. quick breakfast on the porch. She turned the spare room into a tiny test kitchen, steel table, labeled containers, a whiteboard with menus sketched in clean handwriting. She cooked for the workers that first week, smoky jollof, peppered goat, a stubbornly perfect okra. She sent a tray to the gatehouse next door. For the guards, the note read, Una well done. At noon, a knock. The commissioner from Enugu, Mrs. Zainab Dinladi, stood framed by afternoon light, security at a respectful distance. I was passing, she lied gracefully, and saw your gate. Now give me the complete images for chapter 3 to 10. I need single images. You were curious, Ifeoma teased. Come in. They sat in the cool of the sitting room. I watched you at the gala, Zainab said. You took an insult like a queen takes a bad advisory, absorbed and redirected. Sometimes I think silence is not empty, Ifeoma replied. It's full of what you choose not to say. Zainab laughed softly. Your kitchen smells like heaven. Stay for lunch, Ifeoma said. No press. No speeches. They ate jollof at the island like old friends. Zainab dabbed her lips. Do you cater? Not formally. Start, Zainab said. My ministry tires of hotel buffets. We need food with heart. Across the hedge, Ngozi watched from an upstairs window, calculating. She saw the commissioner's convoy, saw the easy laughter, the ease that cannot be taught. In the evening, while watering hibiscus, Ifeoma heard Chinidu on a call, voice-edged. We'll present Monday. My assistant will send details. Your assistant, Ngozi echoed later, amused, pouring him a drink. You almost said my name like a prayer. He smirked, distracted. Don't start. The jacaranda shed purple petals along the fence top, like confetti after a quiet victory. That night, Amaka texted. Neighborhood group chat just asked if you can supply small chops for Saturday's meeting. I said yes. Ifeoma smiled and typed back. Then, I guess we're in business. Abuja gossip does not walk. It gets driven. By Saturday, 3 popular gist pages posted a collage. One frame of Ifeoma in emerald at the gala, one frame of a moving truck at the house next door, and a circle drawn around Chinidu's confused face as he stared over the hedge. Captions sprouted like weeds. God of plot twist. Living next door to your ex? Courage or cruise? Girl said I'm still around in HD. Ifeoma did not comment. She baked. Puff puff that rose like small suns. Spring rolls crisp enough to whisper when you bit them. suya skewers that made grown men sigh. The resident association meeting started as a murmur and spilled into a party. Women removed heels. Men asked for second plates with shy boldness. Who did this? Someone cried, lifting a samosa to the heavens. Ifioma next door, Auntie Beezy declared, turning the nickname into a brand. At church the next morning, whispers followed her down the aisle, but the hugs were real. In the parking lot, a well-known radio host leaned on his car. Madam, I'd love to have you on the show. For what? She asked, chuckling. To teach Puff Puff? Or proximity etiquette? He grinned. To talk resilience. Across town, in a boutique hotel bar, Ngozi scrolled through the posts with an expression that did not reach her eyes. They're turning her into a folk hero, she told a friend over mocktail. Move on, then, the friend shrugged. New contract, new man. Ngozi's smile sharpened. I didn't climb this ladder to climb down because of a woman with a frying pan. At Okafor Holdings, staff noticed shifts. The receptionist, who had liked Ifeoma's calm presence on office days, now watched Ngozi glide through like she owned oxygen. A junior analyst muttered, We used to be kind here. Someone shushed him. Do you like your job? That afternoon, a courier brought envelopes to both houses. Invitations, gold-edged, to the ministry's charity gala for children's health, signed by Zainab. The tagline read, Food by, to be announced. Amaka arrived breathless. It better be you. I didn't ask, Ifeoma said. I cooked lunch. Same difference, Amaka said. Also, DMs are exploding. Brides, baby showers, corporate luncheons. You wanted a community? Congratulations. You have a market. At dusk, Ifeoma stepped outside with a tray of Puff Puff dusted in cinnamon sugar. She waved down the guards at both gates. Share. She caught Chinidu at the edge of the drive. He paused, pride arguing with appetite. Peace offering, she said. He took one, as if doing her a favor. He bit, and a memory flashed. 2 kids in a hot kitchen with a borrowed fryer, stinging eyes and laughter. We were good once, she said, reading his face. We were hungry once, he countered, then softened before hardening again. Don't mistake sympathy for nostalgia. As he turned away, a neighbor's little girl ran up. Auntie Ifeoma, my mummy said your food healed her headache. Tell mummy it was the pepper, Ifeoma said, laughing. Chinidu watched them. He didn't recognize the feeling at first, then he did. It was envy, not of her success, but of how easily people rooted for her. That night, Ngozi's message appeared on his screen, sell the house. Leave this circus. He stared at the words a long time, then typed back, No, I don't run. On Monday, at 8:02 a.m., Ngozi found a bouquet of white lilies on her desk. The card read, To my star, C. She smiled for the office cameras, then moved the flowers to a side table like a trophy. Coffee, she told the intern, and the girls scurried. In the boardroom, Ngozi ran the pre-brief like a general. We push certainty, she told Chinidu. Government wants confidence. I'll speak to the technicals. You close. Understood, he said, appreciating her edge even as it cut him too. At 10 a.m., as they rehearsed, a WhatsApp voice note chimed, Zainab's team. Catering shortlist confirmed. Ngozi's eyes flicked to the screen. A media kit slid open. Preferred, local women-owned enterprises. A photo sat there on page 2. Ifeoma, smiling over a pot, apron-branded next-door kitchen in clean black type. Ngozi's jaw tightened. She's turning food into a throne. She's turning pain into a plan, Chinita said before he could stop himself. Ngozi snapped the laptop shut. Then removed the stage. Sell the house. He bristled. My father laid the marble in that foyer with his own hands. Your father didn't invite his ex to camp at the gate, she shot back. You can't build an empire under surveillance. Surveillance, he laughed coldly. You're scared of Puff Puff? I'm bored of distraction, she answered, voice silk-tired. This city has a short memory. But right now, her story is louder than your product. A silence fell. Power shifted a centimeter. Focus on Enugu, he said finally. I'll handle the rest. That evening, Ngozi tried another tactic. She showed up at Ifeoma's gate with an expensive smile and a camera-ready dress. I came to be neighborly, she announced. Come and be brief, Ifeoma replied, opening the gate. They stood under the jacaranda, petals at their heels like confetti from a war that hadn't even started. You're very brave, Ngozi said. Or very stubborn. Both, Ifeoma answered. Water. No, thank you. Ngozi tilted her head. You think the city is on your side. They are for now. But attention is fickle. When it moves, what remains is structure. He understands structure.
So do I.
Ifeoma smiled, not unkindly. Attention is a guest. Community is a neighbor. Checker Street by 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., aunties with wrappers and young couples with prams stopped by Ifeoma's porch for takeaway bowls. Money flowed, yes, but so did stories, prayers, jokes, names. Ngozi watched the line from her car, face unreadable behind tinted glass, then rolled away. In bed, Chinita's phone buzzed. You still refusing to move? Ngozi texted. Yes, he typed. Then, impulse. We present to Enugu alone tomorrow. No entourage. No noise. Whatever you need to feel in control, she replied, the period like a nail. At 11:56 p.m., a junior in compliance sent an urgent email. Sir, there's an issue with the environmental section of our proposal. Please review before the meeting. No one saw it until morning. Morning broke with the scent of rain and an inbox full of warning. The compliance email sat there, time-stamped 11:56 p.m. Ngozi's face flicked through emotions. Surprise, annoyance, calculation. We can wing it, she said, already editing slides. Wing it, Chinidu echoed. On a government contract?
We have charm, she said.
They like a man who sounds sure. They arrived at the ministry a few minutes late. The conference room was cool, flag pins glinting on lapels. Zainab sat at the end of the table, polite as a closed book. She introduced her team, then gestured. Mr. Okafor. Chinita launched into the deck. Crisp numbers, a bold timeline, a promise to deliver what others had merely proposed. When questions came, they started soft security staffing and moved to teeth. A gray-haired engineer cleared his throat. Your environmental plan mentions boreholes on plots C and D. Those are hospital grounds. Ngozi cut in smoothly. We have a revised map, which we did not receive, Zainab said. Ngozi glanced at Chinidu. He stared back, then at the projector. Next slide. They pushed on, but the room's temperature had changed. The engineer took notes. A younger advisor asked about community engagement. Which local stakeholders have you met? He said. Ngozi smiled. We believe in decisive action. Action without listening is demolition, the advisor replied. A small silence. Zainab broke it gently. Thank you for coming. It was not dismissal, but it was not warmth. In the corridor afterward, Ngozi hissed, We lost them at the boreholes. We lost them when we assumed charm beats process, Chinita said. Why didn't we catch it? Because you told me no entourage, no noise, she snapped. I would have had legal and compliance in the room. They argued in low tones all the way to the car. As the driver pulled out, a convoy swept in. Through the tinted glass, Chinita glimpsed a familiar profile stepping from a black SUV, Zainab. She walked past with her team, laughing lightly at something. He swallowed pride like a bitter pill. Back on the street, he said, We'll regroup. It's one contract. But it was not one contract. Phone calls cooled. A bank hedged on a credit line. A veteran client delayed a renewal, pending internal review. Whispers moved faster than memos. Is Okafor slipping? At noon, a message pinged from Zainab's office to Ifeoma's newly minted email, next door kitchen. Can you cater the children's health gala on Friday? 300 guests. We prefer fresh, local menus. Your food does not shout. It speaks. Ifeoma's eyes stung, just a little, then cleared. She wrote a menu. Smoky jollof in cast-iron pans, grilled tilapia with lime, vegetable medley bright as a traffic light, small chops that felt like joy. She texted Amaka, "We need staff, uniforms, rentals. Today." Across the hedge, Chinita stood on his balcony with a glass he didn't drink from, watching tents appear in Ifeoma's yard, prep canopies, rented tables, a quiet army setting beauty in place. He dialed Zainab, commissioner, about the Enugu. "Another time," she said, voice polite but busy. "I'm in the middle of planning an event." "Of course," he said, throat dry. "Who's catering?" "Someone who listens," she replied, and ended the call. In the evening, the street smelled like pepper and promise. Delivery vans came and left, efficient as heartbeats. Neighbors peeked through curtains and then simply came outside, unable to resist a festival assembling itself in slow motion. Ngozi arrived unannounced. "You're cooking for government now," she called over the fence, sarcasm wrapped like a ribbon. "No," Ifeoma answered without looking up. "I'm cooking for children." Ngozi's smile thinned. "Enjoy your moment." "We all should," Ifeoma replied. "Moments don't last. Character does." When the last pan was covered and labeled, Ifeoma finally sat, exhausted. Amaka sank beside her, fanning both their faces with a paper plate. "You know he can see all this from his balcony," Amaka said, eyes glittering. "I know," Ifeoma said. She took a sip of water and looked straight ahead. Let him. Across the hedge, the mansion that once felt like a world now felt like a box. Chinita lifted his phone and typed a message he never imagined he'd send. "If you have time tomorrow, can we talk?" He hovered over send, and then, with a breath he didn't recognize, he pressed it. Chinita's midnight message sat on her screen like a forgotten umbrella. "If you have time tomorrow, can we talk?" Ifeoma typed 2 words, "Not today," then put the phone face down and tied her headscarf. By 5:30 a.m., she and Amaka were at was market, weaving through stalls where onions gleamed like coins and tomatoes glowed red as warnings. "Pick firm peppers," Ifeoma said, squeezing gently. "We build flavor with discipline." A shy girl at a spice stall recognized her. "Auntie Ifeoma, your puff puff cured my mummy's bad mood." "Then take extra nutmeg," Ifeoma smiled, slipping a small sachet into the girl's hand. "Tell mummy to rest as well." Back home, next door kitchen shifted from idea to machine. Amaka became operations lead by declaration. Ruth, a former church usher with a talent for order, ran bookings from a folding table that would soon become a proper desk. They ordered hairnets, aprons, and portable hand wash stations, laminated a food safety checklist, and hung it by the back door. Ifeoma registered a CAC business name before lunch, opened a corporate account after, and swiped a brand palette from the bougainvillea, deep green, soft pink, clean black lettering. Training began at 3 p.m. "We don't just feed," Ifeoma told 5 new hires from the neighborhood. "We steady people. Smile with your eyes. Greet with names. Wipe spills before anyone asks." "Yes, chef," they chorused, giggling at the title. At 5 p.m., the test kitchen smelled like victory. Smoky jollof in cast-iron pans, peppered turkey, gizdodo glistening, cool zobo in recycled glass bottles with twine tags. Ruth's phone would not stop vibrating. "Birthdays, office retreats. Please can you do small chops for 50 by Saturday?" Across the hedge, Chinita stood on his balcony, a spectator at a play he did not audition for. He texted again 5 minutes at the gate and watched the message remain unread. At 8:40 p.m., Ruth squealed. "Big inquiry. A message from a well-known airline lounge manager. Saw your food at the children's unit yesterday. Can you supply finger foods for VIP flights this weekend?" Ifeoma exhaled, steady and grateful.
Reply yes.
Menu attached in 30 minutes. As Ruth typed, an unknown number called. "Good evening, madam. I'm from the ministry's procurement unit. The commissioner asked for your proposal. Also, are you available to discuss something sensitive?" Friday arrived on tiptoes and then thundered. By noon, the Children's Health Gala Ballroom at the Transcorp Hilton shimmered with gold drapes and white lilies. In a curtain prep area, Next door kitchen ran like a disciplined choir. Trays labeled in thick marker, timers beeping, a runner calling. Table 7 needs refill. Jollof down. Ifioma worked without ornament. Hairnet, sleeves rolled, hands moving with surgical calm. No drowned rice, she reminded a young server gently. If it doesn't sing, it doesn't go out. Guests trickled in, civil servants in tailored igbatas, tech founders in minimalist suits, one Nollywood actress whose laugh traveled like radio. Zainab mounted the stage to welcome donors. Tonight is for children who need what politics can't delay, she said. May we be quick to help. Plates returned empty. People whispered odd little prayers over suya skewers. A journalist approached the buffet, lowered his voice. Who catered? This doesn't taste like committee food. A volunteer pointed. The lady in the hairnet. The journalist blinked. That's her? Meanwhile, near the donor tables, Chinidu arrived late, fashionable and unsteady. His company logo glowed on a sponsorship stand, old commitments honored by autopilot. He scanned the room and found Ifioma plating plantain with a pair of tongs like a conductor setting tempo. For a long second, he forgot how to swallow. Ngozi slipped in at his side, glitter soft as teeth. We should be seen, she murmured, looping her arm through his. Smile. He smiled brittle. After food. They cued, an irony not lost on the small god of stories. When Ifioma reached their side of the line, she did not flinch. Good evening, she said to the next guest, then to the next. Her eyes passed over Chinidu like shade over pavement. Cool, natural, not obliged to linger. He found words anyway. Your food looks good, he said, as if auditioning for humility. It is, she replied simply, and turned to replenish a chafing dish. Zainab intercepted Ifioma with a quiet hug. You've made me proud, she said. We'll talk Monday, procurement wants to formalize. Thank you, Ifioma whispered, emotion clipped to usefulness. Monday I'm free after 10. Across the hall, the Okafor Holdings CFO, round-shouldered from long spreadsheets and longer loyalties, hesitated, then approached Zainab. Ma, he said under the music, forgive this place and time. But you should know, there are discrepancies in the Enugu documents. And in discretionary payments. Zainab's face did not move, the way trained faces don't. Email my office, she said. Tonight we feed children. Monday we feed the auditors. The lights dimmed. A video of smiling kids in hospital beds rolled. People dabbed eyes. Ifioma stood by the curtain, hands still, a private prayer moving through her like a river. Backstage, Ngozi cornered the CFO near a stack of folded linens. Be careful what you say, she warned softly. Numbers can be interpreted. Not these ones, he replied, voice steady. They spell your name. At dawn the next morning, 3 board members received anonymous packets on their doorsteps, printouts of transfers from Okafor Ops to NGZ Logistics, with red arrows and a single handwritten note. Check the dates. Ngozi's first rule was momentum. If a story turns against you, throw a louder one. By 9 a.m., a gossip page posted, unpopular opinion, is next door kitchen licensed? A screenshot of a fake customer complaint followed, stomach upset, exaggerated emojis. Ruth's hands shook. Should we respond? No, Ifioma tied her apron. We serve. Truth is louder when it's fed. An hour later, a health inspector appeared at the gate, nervous, apologetic. Madam, we received an anonymous report. He looked around the pristine prep area, bleach logs, labeled produce, thermometers clipped to collars. This place is cleaner than the hospital kitchen. Have Zobo, Ifioma smiled, handing him a cold bottle. We log sources. We log temps. We log feelings if it helps. He laughed, then lowered his voice. Someone offered to expedite my report for an envelope. Who? Ruth asked, indignant. He shook his head. I won't say without proof. He tucked his card onto the counter. But you're fine. By noon, the rumor mutated. A burner account claimed Ifioma stole a husband and was weaponizing pity. Amaka rolled her eyes, so hard the room tilted. They're trying to drag you into a trench. Ifeoma remained where she had been planted. We stand, she said, and sent out trays for a twin naming ceremony down the street, where two exhausted parents cried over jollof like it was benediction. Elsewhere, Ngozi pressed her own accelerator. She wired a popular blogger from a company account masked as marketing spend, attached talking points, and set 3 juniors to boost the narrative. We don't mention names, she said. We imply. But numbers are less romantic than rumors. By 3 p.m., the Okafor CFO sat with a freelancer auditor in a quiet cafe, sliding across bank statements and vendor lists. The same shell, NGZ Logistics, appeared beside inflated invoices for consultancy, community engagement, PR coordination. Dates lined up with car purchases, and a penthouse lease in was too. We'll need a forensic, the auditor said, already drafting the scope. And a lawyer who doesn't play golf with your boss. At 5:20 p.m., the health inspector returned with a colleague and a small body camera clipped like a pen. We're conducting random checks, he announced. Minutes later, his phone buzzed, an unknown number requesting a quick meet behind the shopping complex. He went, camera quietly on. A tidy woman in sunglasses handed him a slim envelope. We both save time, she said. Right, satisfactory. No need to poke around kitchens. Your name, he asked, already knowing. An associate, she said, and turned away. The camera blinked red, patient as truth. At 7 p.m., Ruth's phone pinged again, this time from the airline lounge. Customers loved the first batch. Double order tomorrow. Also, can your team handle a VIP jet on Sunday? We can, Ifeoma said, tired joy warming her voice. Tell them. Consider it done. On Monday at 8 a.m., Okafor Holdings board secretary sent a calendar blast, emergency board meeting. For PM 20 minutes later, a courier delivered a flash drive to reception addressed to the board, play me. At 4:02 p.m., the boardroom felt 10 degrees colder. Directors settled like judges. Chinedu took the head of the table, jaw set. Ngozi sat to his right, immaculate, expression smooth as glass. The CFO plugged in the flash drive. Numbers filled the screen, tables marching in grim columns. Vendor names, dates, amounts. A second slide overlaid the company's payments with bank credits into NGZ Logistics and a personal card ending 1137. A third slide displayed lease documents for a penthouse signed by Ngozi N. The room hummed faintly with the sound good people make when disappointment catches their throat. Ngozi's smile did not crack. Creative teams often use third-party entities, she said. NGZ is a consultancy I engaged to move fast on community tasks. We delivered outcomes. Community tasks like a Cartier bracelet? The most senior director asked dryly, tapping a receipt on the table. Color finally rose in her face. My compensation package does not include skimming, the director finished, or forging compliance sign-offs, or diverting contract retainers to a shell you control. Chinedu stared at the spreadsheet, a man reading a prophecy he doesn't remember writing. Why? He asked, voice lower than the air. We could have built this. You and I. You didn't need. I needed to protect myself. Ngozi snapped. Years of careful velvet fraying. Men promise. Systems forget us. I took my share. You took my company's blood, he said, the last word knifing. The external lawyer cleared his throat. Recommendation. Immediate suspension pending criminal investigation, account freezes, public statement before market close. Ngozi stood, collecting her calm like a coat. You won't drag me, she said. It will stain you more than me. It's already staining us, a director replied, pointing to his buzzing phone. 2 investors want calls. One is pulling out today. Security arrived, discreet but undeniable. That finally jolted her. Chinedu, she said, turning to him. Say something. He opened his mouth, but his father's marble kept it shut. He nodded to security. They escorted her through a corridor of employees who suddenly discovered reasons to stare at the carpet. At her desk, Ngozi placed the white lilies gently into the bin, then paused, fished one out, and tucked it behind her ear as if the world were still made of mirrors. At the elevator, she faced him one last time. "I don't do sinking ships," she said softly. "Call me when you learn to swim."
The doors closed.
Silence expanded, then broke into phone calls, frantic emails, and the dull thud of reputation falling downstairs. By evening, a notice went out. Okafor Holdings announces suspension of a senior staff member pending investigation into financial irregularities. Investors still pulled lines. A client paused a renewal. Salaries, for the first time in 4 years, were paid a day late. Chinidu walked home past his own name on a glass door and saw, reflected there, a smaller man. At 9:47 p.m., his phone lit with a one-line message from an unknown number, blacklisting recommendations sent to the ministry. 10 seconds later, he could hear music and laughter drift over the hedge. Next-door kitchen staff celebrating a week with their wages paid on time and in full. Saturday brought Harmattan light and an HOA meeting under the big almond tree. Plastic chairs scraped. Children chased each other with sachet water. Aunties fanned judgment and breeze in equal measure. A tray of small chops from next-door kitchen glowed on a folding table like an altar. Auntie Beezy tapped a spoon on a bucket. "Neighbors, we have 2 matters. The security levy and, well, the matter everybody already knows." A polite ripple of laughter. She cleared her throat. In difficult weeks, we watch conduct. Some of us saw mockery turn to discipline. Food shared with guards. Bills paid early. Smiles that didn't ask for a camera. Some of us also saw pride turn to pepper. Eyes drifted toward the Okafor gate. Beezy continued, "We don't take sides in marriages. We take sides in character. Today we confirm, Ifeoma's business is our preferred vendor. Birthdays, burials, naming, anything this estate can give. We invest where we see stewardship." Applause rose like rain on zinc. A young mother stood. "My twins refuse to sleep unless they eat Auntie Ifeoma's jollof," she announced to laughter. An older man added, "Her team patched my boy's bicycle while delivering food." "Who does that?" Chinidu arrived late, cut a lonely figure at the back, hands in pockets. He stepped forward, pride hitching. "May I say something?" "After," Beezy said sweetly and moved on to the next agenda. When the meeting ended, neighbors formed a queue, not for politics, but for puff-puff. "God bless your hands," one whispered to Ifeoma, pressing a small envelope for nothing in particular. "For my family." Chinita drifted close as the crowd thinned. I'm sorry," he managed, each syllable a stone. Ifeoma looked at him the way you look at a distant hill. Real, but far. "I heard you," she said. She nodded toward the children now playing restaurant, with leaves and bottle caps. "They hear too." He followed her gaze. A little boy ladled sand into a plastic bowl. "Welcome to next-door kitchen," he crowed. His friends cheered. Across the street, a delivery van pulled up, white, with clean black lettering. Next-door kitchen and a logo of bougainvillea curling into a heart. Amaka hopped out, triumphant. 5 more just like this next week, she announced. Bank approved the microfleet loan. Chinita swallowed the taste of rust. His phone buzzed, an email from ministry. Due to non-compliance findings, Okafor Holdings is ineligible to bid on federal infrastructure projects for 6 months. He looked up at Ifeoma's porch, where staff in fresh aprons took a quick team photo, laughing into the sun. Ruth held up a tote bag printed with their new slogan, food.
Dignity.
Neighbor. Ifeoma cinched her scarf and turned toward her door. We have orders to prep, she told her team. To Chinidu, she added only, may we both learn. That night, alone on his balcony, Chinita drafted a full apology, truthful, unpretty, long, then deleted it, then wrote it again. In the quiet, he finally hit send, and watched 3 dots appear under Ifeoma's name, blinking like a heartbeat he wasn't sure he still owned. The apology he sent in the night returned with a soft thud of silence. Delivered. Read. No reply. When morning came, Chinidu wore a shirt that once fit a larger life. In the mirror, the collar looked too proud for his neck. At the office, half the desks were occupied. The others had that strange brightness empty spaces get when people gather their hopes into boxes and go. The CFO gave him the week's damage in a voice that tried not to tremble. 2 clients paused retainers. The bank tightened the covenant on our credit line. Payroll is possible, but tight. Pay them, Chinita said. Everyone gets their full salary. No excuses. At lunch, he couldn't eat. The canteen rice tasted like the inside of a calculator. In the afternoon, legal arrived with a polite storm. We've received letters from the ministry and 2 private auditors. We will comply. There was a word no one said, but everyone circled prosecution. By evening, he stood on his balcony with a glass he didn't drink, watching next-door kitchen's vans glide out and back like a healthy pulse. Staff laughed on Ifeoma's porch, real laughter, the kind that shakes stress out of bones. A neighbor came by with a sick toddler. Ifeoma tucked a small flask of warm pepper soup into the woman's hands and whispered a prayer that actually sounded like one. Regret, when it truly arrives, is not dramatic. It is a slow erosion. Names you can't call, doors you can't open, a wife you can see but cannot reach. He remembered the day he made her cry over a burnt stew and then ate every spoon of it anyway because their generator had failed and the darkness made them giddy. He remembered the yellow plastic table where they drew their first logo by hand. He remembered her selling her small gold necklace for seed, she said, smiling.
His phone buzzed.
A board member. Investors want you to step aside as CEO temporarily until the probe concludes. He typed, if it keeps the company alive, I'll do it. He hit send and exhaled like something was leaving him that needed to go. At dusk, the jacaranda dropped purple petals along the fence like a careful apology from the sky. He picked one up, rolled it between his fingers, then let it fall back. Later that night, a generator across the street sputtered and caught. Light spilled from Ifeoma's kitchen. For a moment, from where he stood, he could see her profile in the window, head bowed over a ledger. The outline of a woman doing the work. He put on a plain shirt and, for the first time in years, walked himself next door without a driver, rehearsing a sentence he wasn't sure he deserved to say. The gate clicked. The guards looked from him to each other, then stepped aside because Abuja wasn't a village, but tonight it felt like one. He crossed the short stretch of pavement, pulse loud in his ears like bad speakers. Amaka opened the door before he could knock properly. She looked him up and down, measured the humility in the set of his shoulders, and said, "Stand here." She disappeared. Came back. "You have 5 minutes. Nothing more." He stepped into the sitting room that smelled of cinnamon and clean surfaces. Ifeoma stood near the dining table, arms loose at her sides, eyes level. She wasn't cold. She was clear. He tried the old smile and immediately knew it had expired. "Thank you for seeing me." "This is not seeing," she said gently. "This is listening for 5 minutes." Words, once his swords, came out like rope. "I am sorry." He paused. "Not the shallow sorry you give to escape consequence. The kind that stands and takes the weight. I mocked you. I betrayed you. I let a stranger teach me to despise the person who built my roof. I forgot history. I forgot God." Her face didn't move, but her eyes did. "Continue." He swallowed. "I stepped down as CEO today. Temporarily. The board, it's bad. I deserve most of it." He looked at his hands, once trophies, now tools. "I know I cannot ask for the past, but I am asking for a chance to be a different man in the present. To apologize properly, to everyone publicly. To make restitution where I can. His throat fought him. To be the kind of neighbor our street can greet without thinking of harm. Silence curated the room. The clock ticked like a metronome for Mercy. "Sit," she said. He didn't. She nodded. "Good. Chinita, you didn't just lose me. You lost the respect you'll spend years earning in inches." She gestured toward the window, where her vans were returning, headlights sweeping the wall like quiet angels. "I built that because I decided humiliation isn't a grave. It is soil, if you let it be. You are welcome to plant your regret, but not in me." He blinked fast. He'd come prepared for a slap, punishment, even shouting. He hadn't prepared for a syllabus. "I will not reconcile," she continued, calm as a judge whose robe is a kitchen apron.
"Not now."
"Maybe not ever. I don't hate you. Hate rots the vessel that carries it. I do not carry rot. But hear me, restore what you damaged, your company, your people, your name, with patience and truth. Go to therapy. Apologize to the guards you once shouted at. Pay the vendors on time. Call your mother.
Pray."
Not to perform, to become." He nodded, tears embarrassing him and, strangely, healing him. "Yes." A knock broke the moment. Ruth poked her head in, whispering, "Madam," MC called. "They want you on Morning Review tomorrow to talk women in business." And Flair Foods sent an LOI. They want to stock our Zobo nationwide. Her excitement battled her attempt at quiet. Ifeoma's eyes widened, then softened. "Tell them we'll review, with counsel." She looked back at Chinidu.
"See?
The world doesn't wait for anyone's heartbreak. It keeps spinning." He wiped his face, laughed once, raw, small. "That's a mercy." Amaka checked the time. "Your 5 minutes are done." Chinidu stood. "Thank you," he said, meaning it in a way he hadn't meant anything in months. At the door, he turned. "I know you don't need me," he said. "But if you ever need anything—" He stopped, because that sentence couldn't be finished without sounding like a man trying to buy back what he broke. "I have everything I need," Ifeoma replied. "And what I don't have yet, God will send through community." On the walkway outside, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost declined. Then he answered and heard a voice say, "Mr. Okafor, this is Dr. Hassan. A therapy slot opened at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Will you take it?" Power, when you've earned it the long way, feels less like lightning and more like steady electricity. The NBC interview wasn't glamorous. Peach backdrop, microphones that smelled faintly of previous voices, but Ifeoma spoke with that clean authority people lean toward. "What would you tell a woman who's been humiliated publicly?" the host asked. Ifeoma looked into the camera like it was a person. "Shame is a thief that wants your name and your timetable. Refuse both. Do one small useful thing today, then another tomorrow. Build a rhythm. Forgive yourself. Keep receipts." Twitter lit up with tidy thunder. DMs flooded with thank yous and terrible stories. She answered as many as she could at night with practical kindness. A WhatsApp group for women starting micro kitchens, a shared Google Sheet for supplier contacts, a link to a trailer with free refrigeration in Garki for those who needed space. Flair Foods LY arrived formal and shiny. Nationwide distribution of Zobo and ginger lemonade. The numbers were good. The terms were clean. She negotiated a clause that made her grin. 1% of net proceeds funding a Neighbor's Table program, monthly free meals for kids in low-income estates.
Food. Dignity.
Neighbor. The slogan was traveling. She also made a decision that surprised even Amaka. "We're hosting a job fair," she said.
Here.
Saturday. Priority to Okafor holding staff affected by the scandal. "I won't hire out of pity, but I'll create a fair queue." Amaka blinked, then nodded slowly. Grace is the only revenge God cosigns. On Saturday, the Jacaranda's Shade became a recruitment hall. Resumes, shy jokes, coffee, small chops. Ruth ran a booth labeled Training Academy, a 6-week paid program in kitchen operations and small catering management. Men in suits who looked like they hadn't slept in weeks smiled tentatively as they described Excel sheets and vendor relations. Women who'd never been given a microphone told stories about keeping departments alive with pure competence. Across the hedge, Chinidu returned from therapy carrying a cheap plastic folder stuffed with notes that would have embarrassed the man he used to be. He slowed at his gate, watched the job fair, and felt something like relief. People he had failed were being caught by a net he hadn't woven but had once financed when he married right. He went upstairs, filmed a short video on his phone. No ring light, no PR script. "This is Chinidu Okafor," he said into the camera, eyes naked. "I harmed people with pride and negligence. I am cooperating fully with the investigation. I've stepped down as CEO. If you worked for Okafor Holdings and were harmed by these events, here is a list of firms currently hiring. I have made calls. If you're owed money, here is an email that will be answered within 48 hours with a payment plan. I am sorry. He posted it and put the phone face down, letting the internet do what it does. Judge, roast, share, forgive a little. That evening, after the last resume was filed and the last puff eaten, Ifeoma sat on her steps, shoes off, ankles humming. The street smelled like pepper and paper and hope. A little girl ran up, thrust a crayon drawing into her hand, a big house with a smaller house beside it, and a tree raining purple dots. In wobbly letters, Auntie Ifeoma, thank you for feeding us. Ifeoma closed her eyes and said a simple prayer she meant. Her phone vibrated with an email from a Lagos investor. We love your model. Are you ready for 5 central kitchens in 5 states? We move fast. They didn't move fast. They moved right. A lawyer sharpened the paperwork until even the commas knew who they served. The investor came to the estate one morning, left his tinted Land Cruiser under the jacaranda, and walked the prep area without fuss. He shook hands with Ruth and Amaka like partners, not footnotes. By the next quarter, a modest warehouse in Jabi became Central Kitchen 1. White floors, stainless steel that reflected everyone as a co-owner. A training classroom sat upstairs with a poster that read, "We don't shout here. We sharpen." Women in hairnets took notes like they were recording recipes for their grandchildren. Men learned to label with the zeal of former improvisers. The Zobo line went nationwide, glass bottles clinking like disciplined joy in supermarket fridges from Abuja to Port Harcourt. Instagram filled with simple, beautiful photos, hands passing food across fences, a boy in uniform eating jollof before school, a caption that simply said, "Neighbor fed." The Neighbors Table program became a monthly ritual. On the last Saturday, for estates in different cities ate free together. No speeches, just food and a posted menu with thanks to donors and a gentle QR for those who wanted to give. Media called. Ifeoma declined most interviews, sent Ruth when it made sense, sent Amaka when it looked like someone wanted a fight. When she did speak, she spoke quietly and landed her sentences like planes. Meanwhile, Chinidu rebuilt at human speed. He sold the weekend car and paid 3 vendors in full. He met with the bank manager and listened without posturing. He took notes in therapy like a stubborn student finally learning to read his own handwriting. He apologized to his staff. Some accepted with relief, others with arms folded across old injuries. He began consulting for a mid-sized firm that remembered his brilliance and had never loved his arrogance. He wore simpler clothes and discovered that humility makes air conditioning unnecessary. One afternoon, he saw Ifeoma returning from the central kitchen in a branded polo, face tired and bright. He raised a hand from across the hedge. She raised hers back. A neighborly wave, not a covenant. That weekend, the estate held a community cleanup. Chinidu swept gutters with the guards and laughed at his own blisters. Ifeoma scrubbed the playground slide with detergent and a vigor that made children clap. At the end, Onibizi took a photo, the two of them at opposite ends of the same frame, both holding brooms, both a little dirty, both fine. That night, he sat on his smaller couch and scrolled past a headline that did not involve him. Next door kitchen to open in Kano, Ilorin, Enugu, Abeokuta. He smiled despite himself, a stretch of mouth that felt earned. The next morning, a property agent called. Mr. Okafor, a 2-bedroom just opened on the hill. Smaller house, good view. You can see your old street from the balcony. He surprised himself by saying, I'll take it. Years sand the edges off everything. Harmattan seasons came and left. New families learned the rhythm of the estate. The jacaranda that had witnessed their war grew a little wider, dropping more purple confetti each December. Chinidu's new house was honest. White walls, a balcony that held 2 chairs and a plant that stubbornly refused to die. From there, in the evenings, he could see the top of Ifeoma's old new mansion a few streets down, its lights like a steady heart. On weekends, music drifted across, sometimes worship, sometimes fella, sometimes the soft clatter of trays and laughter that said work was good today. He had not become poor. He had become smaller. The probe had ended with sanctions, fines, a stern agreement that spared him prison and cost him pride. He paid the fine in installments that pinched and taught. He kept consulting, slowly regained a reputation that was more respected than loved. He sent money to his mother without Instagram captions. He attended a men's group at church where they talked about anger and how to cook egg sauce without burning it. Next-door kitchen became something mothers said in markets like a proverb. A bright training center in BY BORRAH sign in clean black type. The IFIOMA Initiative, feeding skills, funding startups. Young women in branded polos taught older women how to use POS machines without fear. A quiet scholarship paid by Zobo nudged teenagers into culinary schools they'd only dreamed of. One late afternoon, Auntie Beezy organized a neighborhood anniversary dinner under the almond tree. 10 years of the estate being an estate, of neighbors being something more than walls. She asked IFIOMA to cater, of course. She also, to everyone's mild shock, asked Chinidu to give the vote of thanks. As a neighbor, she added, smiling in that way that gives you no room to refuse. He stood at the end, cleared his throat. Thank you for teaching me what a street can be, he said, eyes tapping no more than needed on the person he once called his wife. May we keep being each other's first responders. May we keep our gates open to kindness and closed to pride. Applause rose. Children darted between chairs with puff-puff like treasure. The almond leaves whispered about things they had seen and kindly forgotten. After the tables were cleared, he lingered. IFIOMA was winding down with her team, tying scarves, counting trays. He walked over, 2 hands visible, no agenda visible either. Chef, he said, smiling at the title her staff loved. Neighbor, she returned, simple and true. For what it's worth, he said, your light reaches the hill. On quiet nights, it makes my balcony less lonely. She nodded, the compliment landing like a leaf and staying. On quiet nights, she said, I pray your house is peace. They stood for a moment in a silence that had learned good manners. Somewhere down the street, a generator coughed and surrendered to Nipa. Cheers went up like a small Pentecost. He looked at the jacaranda. Funny, he said. I used to think the mansion was the point. It was a stage, she said. The play was always bigger. He laughed softly. You found yourself. She shrugged, smiling. I found my work. Myself came along. A breeze pushed the purple petals into a little drift at their feet. He stepped back first. Good night, IFIOMA. Good night, Chinidu. He walked toward his car, a practical one that didn't pretend it would live forever. She turned to her team, clapped her hands once. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. same grace, same discipline. On the hill later, he sat on a small balcony and watched her mansion gleam steady through the trees. It didn't taunt him anymore. It instructed him about value, about building, about the way regret can be a teacher if you stop interrupting it. Down the road, her porch light went off, then her kitchen light, then one last lamp in the upstairs study. The street settled. Abuja hummed its big city lullaby. He raised a glass of water to the night and to the woman who had once been his home and had become his compass by refusing to be his map. And when Harmattan came again, the jacaranda bloomed louder, an annual reminder that some trees do their best work after losing everything that made them pretty.
The end.